And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of Conspiracy Tuesdays and Q News and Devolution and all the things that are going on. Last week, I interfered too much, and Junior let me know we need to listen more. So I appreciate that. Everyone here is to learn and grow. Thanks, Mud Rabbit. Thank you, Ariel. Thank you, Junior. And today's topic is devolution, the continuation. We didn't really get very far into that because I was still explaining some of the basics of key drops and everything else going on. However, we got stuff that's going on and it's current, and Red October is already gone and past, so we need updates. Mud Rabbit, hello, and
hello.
What's up?
Everything's fine on my end. I hope everything's the same for y'all.
Well, Brazil's different. Nothing really is affecting us because we've been through so much shit that we got to sort of fend for ourselves regardless. So that's a good situation.
How's it doing down there?
Actually, today was a pretty hot day for summer. So, if y'all are feeling cold, I'm doing this for the visual effect because that's what I like to do on my channel. Tone it down just a bit. But anyway, Ariel, you're in Virginia, right? What's weather like down there?
It's like 30 degrees right now.
You're freezing.
It's like 30 degrees right now. It's freezing. But I like the cold, so.
That works. All right. So that's key news tonight. We've got evolution, all the stuff that's going on. I mean, we're not going to talk about Rittenhouse or the significance and symbolism of his name, plus all the people that were actually involved in that situation. Or are we going to talk about Ghislaine and what's coming up in the next couple of weeks? Because that's also on that timetable. But there are realities that sort of dictated both of those pantomime realities of the matrix that's drawn around us. So get us deeper into the devolution. Where are we at in the middle of it?
It's hard to tell. First, you have to start with the definition of what it is. It's continuity of government.
Which government?
Continuity of government. All I can think is that this was put into place long before the last election.
Oh, yeah. There was a queue in Abraham Lincoln's time, but then again, they brought many similarities between Lincoln and Kennedy, between their secretaries, between the people that actually assassinated and where they were when that happened. So there are links there that go way the fuck back. But yeah, as far as we know, this thing started with Kennedy and how they believe they can just take out any president they want. We've seen that in this last time. They didn't let this one do anything because those little satanic bastards didn't like us. He had mean tweets. Yeah. So we got people that are more abusive than we could ever imagine nowadays, and it's just too fucking bizarre. So the process of cleaning the swamp started well before Trump. My question is, are we 8 steps from checkmate, 3 steps from checkmate, or 2?
I think we're pretty close. I really think we're pretty close. If you really pay attention to the people who are supposedly in charge of us, they're freaking out. They can't. I saw Nancy the other day on an interview, and she didn't make one lick of sense.
She never does.
I don't think she was drunk. I think she was just panicked.
I just want to say hi to my friend Anya. She's in the chat right now. She's commenting because I invited her. She popped on.
All right, cool. I'll check. How the fuck do I do that? Oh, hot shit angel. All right.
It's Anya. Her name's Anya. She's German.
Anya, guten Tag. Alles gut?
Hello, Anya.
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. Aber
bastante alemão aqui, fala para eles aí.
Oh yeah, this is the most German area of Brazil, so there are lots of Germans down here, and I have been learning German down here.
É colonizado por alemães, né?
Colonized by Germans, like you said, just also French, Italians, and Swiss in this particular region. So it's all good. But it's a little cozy place tucked in the middle of fucking nowhere, hidden from the rest of existence, which is why I came here, to get away from the system, because I knew it was going to eat everybody the fuck up. And right now, there's so many fucking problems going on with people kicking over.
I hear somebody else on the line.
You have, or I do.
No,
You're probably hearing my son. My son was close by the phone.
Oh,
That
okay.
might be. Because
But he's autistic, so I'm trying to.
Supostamente alguém no controle tem, não é supostamente, né? Só uma coisa existe no controle.
all right, so Junior's saying we're talking about whoever's supposedly in control, and he's saying absolutely, but there's only one who's in control. See, God is the only one in control, and yes, he's absolutely right. However, this is all part of a pre-coordinated plan. It's been written about thousands of years ago, trying to describe
military has their
the
part.
days in which we're in. Is Terry going to come on or not? I don't know. I heard something. I got like 5 things going on here.
6 minutes and 31 seconds. Well, 33 now.
And I haven't said a freaking lick. All right. So Terry hasn't even seen it, so he's not going to be on there. All right. So,
Terry, he'll pop in when he finds it.
whenever he finds it, he's probably in the middle of a match, actually, most likely. But yeah, the thing is that we've got a fake president and a battle between the two first bitches trying to get each other out. You got Jill, the really psycho nut job, and then we got Camel on the other side, who everybody agrees is a freaking psycho nut job because she is the least liked fucking vice president in the history of the United States. Period. The end. The atrocities that she did, keeping people in jail just so that they could do more manual labor. I mean, this is one sick.
Well, they're still doing it. I mean, look at the January 6 people. They're still in prison.
No, that's political persecution, and Nancy set all that shit up along with her fucking Imperial Guard. We know that. The thing is proving it. Rittenhouse had to go through the mafia media for a year before now he's going to get his comeuppance. And if he's anything like the other kid, he'll probably get 50 million, 100 million.
I don't think these people are going to get away with anything.
No, they're all going down. And they've already been resigning. Last year, we saw the maximum amount of resignations of large corporations, of media companies, of other people around that they've left because they're scared out their ass because the shit's about to fall. They figure out, oh, fuck, they found out. I'm out of here. By the time the house falls, I'll be long fucking gone on my island in the middle of where the fuck we run off to. Okay, and that's what those assholes think. But, dude, this is global. They're taking everybody down. Now, they said that Israel will be last, right? As far as the Q drops.
Yeah.
But dude, whenever we think about the mark of the beast, everything biblical is actually related to Jerusalem, and everything starts there.
Yeah.
What have we been seeing? We're all talking about Australia and the lockdowns in Europe and the lockdowns and all that kind of shit. But Israel is the most vaccinated country in the world. All those experiments started there. That government experimented on its own people.
And they should know better.
Because the book
out of
was
everybody in the whole world, they should know better. They should remember their history.
But they put luciferase in their veins.
Well, that's the dye.
Yeah. But they're marked.
That's the dye.
Yeah. The genetic alteration is a whole other fucking story. But the main thing is the dye because that's a mark. And
I
that's the
don't
whole.
think it's so much genetic alteration. I've been reading about the mRNA, and I'm not in the medical field, and I'm totally out of my league with this.
We can't even touch
the
on
way.
I went into on Jacob's show. I went into a whole thing of 5 different doctors and everything else, and so I knew what I was talking about was fact. But our that particular show got taken down. He had to eliminate that whole thing out of it.
Yeah. Well, what
So
they're saying.
we still have to be careful.
What they're saying is, from what I understand, the mRNA is what gets into the cells to change it, to get into the smaller things in our bodies, to change
it's just what you programmed once you get through the walls.
Right. And what's the thing that they're claiming that's in it? It's the graphene oxide. So maybe the mRNA is a method for the graphene oxide.
No. They're 2 or 3 things that are associated to each other, help each other, but they have their own individual purposes. And we can't really say that word very much because that's also a filtered word.
Yeah.
Marfugal always lets us know about that sort of shit. But let's say the fiend. Well, actually, that's probably the part that they're.
Well, it's.
But anyway,
the
fiend is actually nano, and it's going to be concentrating in certain parts that are related to the pineal gland that will cut off. Why? Because that's something that Gilly Bates did back in 2007 in his study with the Pentagon, and showing what part of the brain they could nullify in order to reduce the fanaticism of the people that they thought were problematic at that time. So that technology progresses, and that same little rat bastard is the one trying to put luciferase in everybody and fuck around with their programming. Okay, so it's been a plan that's been long coming. The problem is that we're right here. Either, like it says in the Bible, if I did not interfere, all flesh would be lost. But it's not what's going on in Australia. It's not what's going on in Mexico or Zimbabwe or who the fuck knows where, because everything, the time clock is in Jerusalem. So the main thing is, how many of these signs are being carried out in Jerusalem, in his land? Because that's what we need to measure everything else by. Otherwise, it doesn't really make much sense. We can relative, and that's why I'm here in Brazil, because fucking this is the last place that shit should reach, but it's global, and it's reached everywhere. Okay, and the president that we had here was one of those globalists, a little, 9-fingered motherfucker, because he sacrificed his finger. My theory is he gave it to the Yakuza, but that's just my fucking theory. But anyway, yeah, this whole fucking thing has been a long time coming. My question is, where are we now? Biden's not him. They're not filming in the real Casablanca, But when is the other shoe going to fall? I mean, we've been hearing about popcorn and everything else. Where are we? I mean, I hear about Gitmo, and I've heard different things that they've talked about many of these individuals, and the ways in which they have been dealt with. But I don't know how much of it is true, because the media tells us a whole nother story, and deep fakes are now becoming reality, just like Q said. 4 years ago, I think, is the time lapse on some of those Q proofs.
Well, don't forget, a lot of what we're seeing is CGI as well.
Yeah, but
and if you take that into consideration, that we're seeing CGI and fakes, then you got to know the whole thing, that the whole show they're putting on is just that, just a show. It's hard to convince people when they're so locked into a pattern of belief that what they're looking at isn't really what they're looking at.
You have to make them realize what they're really looking at.
Right. And that's why I said I think there's a contingency for that.
Hopefully.
There has to be. I mean, he told us outright in the drops, enjoy the show.
Yeah, but you also have the reality that the mark is voluntary, and unfortunately, there are people that have already suffered consequences that didn't want to. I watched a video today of a neurosurgeon, spent 14 years training, 19 years, doing 5 surgeries a day. The guy's freaking phenomenal, and he's
I think
testifying.
My thoughts on this are, this is the depopulation plan, and the mark comes later.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. This is preparation for that.
This is the thinning of the crop, and when the crop is thin, then whoever's left gets a mark.
You're right. You're right. They're more controllable and domesticable. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to hide out, because if they don't know you exist, they won't track you. That means that you have to exist outside the system, which was kind of what my focus usually was, which is why the fuck I came down here and do the strange, crazy ass shit that I do.
Unless we can go underground, there is no place.
Even underground, you can't. I mean, God said you can't.
Exactly.
Sides. My problem is the tidal wave is going to be 200 meters tall, and so my place will be buried under about 150 meters of water.
There's not going to be a tidal wave. There's no tidal wave. That's the fear mongering. They need to feed from the loosh, so that's fear mongering.
No, but I'm talking about like Edgar Casey whenever he was talking about pole shift.
It's already happened several times over history. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I don't think it's not that it's a physical pole shift. I think it's more a magnetic pole shift. And we've seen that happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, but we've also seen physical pole shifts in throughout history. I mean, we see that marked down and everything else. So it is a reality. Now, I don't know how much that's connected to Nibiru and everything else.
I think we've been knocked off our axis, but I don't think the globe has completely turned a 180.
Wonkaroo X came in, and thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Hi, Wonkaroo.
So, yeah. God, there's so much. We got Nibiru coming through, or has already come through, because I don't know what the fuck's going on anymore.
Came and went. It's all fear tactics. It's all fear tactics.
Yeah, that's a Sumerian method. It's the father of lies.
Right. And the Bible tells us the world will pass away, the world will go, but it also tells us that the earth will always be. The world and the earth are two different things.
Yeah. The world
is the reality we're living in. That's going to pass away.
Matrix.
But the earth is going to be
matrix
fine.
That we built around us, the system.
Okay, consider this. Consider that they got a hold of our holy books before we could see them. We know part of the Bible is missing. And what if Constantine rewrote the Bible to place seeds where they shouldn't be? You have to take truth and wrap it in a bunch of lies to get people to swallow it. So what you have to do on everything, even with the Bible, is look for that seed of truth. Because the end of this system is not for us. All that terrible stuff that they say is going to happen to us is not for us. It's for them. We're going to be fine. Everything that they try to scare us with is for them. With the brackets.
All right.
You see what I'm saying?
Perfect. Junior was complaining because I kept interrupting his recording, so I want to get him up to speed as well, so he knows what's going on. Estamos falando sobre Apocalipse, coisa que não estamos conversando antes, de onde nós estamos dentro dessa... Porque tudo isso começou com o teu comentário, que ele está encarregado e de repente a conversa foi nessa direção e eu terminei...
Talvez em algum momento o rap tenha até falado que tu chega num nível onde que você precisa fazer com que as pessoas enxerguem o que elas realmente são.
Sim, enxergar a realidade que foi botado acima dos olhos deles.
Eu acredito, isso faz parte do que meu trabalho todo do espelho.
Perfeito. Ela também estava mencionando que o lance de Nibiru tem uma mentira e tudo de medo. Eles estão tentando aumentar o medo em termos globais para manter o sob controle com o medo.
Mas as pessoas que estão atentas, elas acabam tendo uma função de tentar abrir os olhos das demais pessoas.
The people who are aware have a function to open the eyes of others that are around them, which is the answer to all of that. So, thank you, everyone.
You can only give when asked.
You what?
You can only give when asked.
Oh.
You have to be asked.
True. You have to be asked.
Mm-hmm. You can't tell people anything that they haven't asked you to explain. We're finding this out. We're finding this out with the lollipop. You can't warn people. You can't explain to them. You can't tell them. They tell you you're listening to your fake news. They tell you you're a conspiracy theorist, yada, yada, yada. You can't. They have to get to a point where they say, ooh, and think to themselves, so-and-so said this. Maybe I better ask him. Maybe he knows something that can help me. And that's when you can tell them what you know.
Exemplo simples, Miguel. Volta e meia, minha mãe manda um fake news, que ela não fez a averiguação. Eu vou lá e mando, mãe, isso aqui eu confirmei lá e é fake news, mãe.
That's Junior's talking about his mother, who it's almost every day she gets information and she starts sharing it out, and he does his digging and he says, hey mom, this is fake news, you can't put this out. And he's telling his mom every day about shit that she's posting that just ain't real. So yeah, we live in a reality of misinformation. People aren't, but that's my objective of these Tuesdays, and basically my channel and my book in reality as well. Why? Because it's all, none of it is what we imagine it to be. And the battles are deeper and more profound than most people can even understand, much less acknowledge. So yeah, we take it one step at a time, one level at a time, and we go there. The problem is we're in the middle of World War III, a Maoist communist takeover of every government in the world.
We are, and there's people out there that want everything now, everything. I want it yesterday. Why can't you tell me this? Why aren't you doing this?
Because we don't want nuclear conflict.
They're not in the know. Nuclear. I don't think nuclear is going to be a problem. They've got bigger things that we should worry about,
like EMPs shutting everything down. But actually, there were some posts that I saw that there would be a brief conflict, probably about 2 weeks, and yeah, it would be brutal, and yeah, nuclear would be involved. And at the same time, we see the Battle of Armageddon written about in it wasn't Revelation, was it?
This war is not a kinetic war. It's not a war where it's going to be bloody. It's not a bloody war. This is a war for our minds. This is a war
not until they take
our minds. It's a war for our minds.
It's a war for our souls.
Yeah. Well, get the mind, get the soul.
This is the war to end all wars. World War I was named for that. This one will be. It's kind of like Einstein said. After World War III, you're back to the Stone Ages. So it's the last of what will be. So the structure,
now that's what they had planned.
Yeah, the finesse of the plan to be able to undo all of this is what has been absolutely remarkable, and it's taken a long fucking time. And 20 years ago, they were trying to implement it, and it was taken down by an event that changed history around the entire.
I have a theory on that. They've been implementing this for a long time, and they have had successes, because it used to be you didn't have a computer in the house. And then the internet came along, and the internet became all of a sudden open for everybody. And up until that point, only a few people had access to the internet. And computers were expensive, but the military gave us, that was the first thing I learned when I got online in the 90s. The military gave us the internet. Now, why would the military give us the internet if they hadn't planned on using it?
Yep. But what is the function of it, and what we're seeing now the corporations do with it? Why?
Well, can you imagine how ignorant we'd be if we didn't have it? We wouldn't know half the stuff we know now.
Well, most people wouldn't. Absolutely.
We'd all be freaking out because we wouldn't understand what's going on. And now that we have the internet, and we've had 20 some odd years, 30 some odd years to play with it and get used to it and dig into it and find all the hidden spots, all of a sudden
and censor all the people that don't agree with us.
Not really, because if you don't know what's going on, you have nothing to freak out about. Exactly. So to me, there would be less chaos.
Well, we'd see what's happening now with Biden, and people would be freaking out. If you owned a business, you'd be flipping.
Yeah. My thing is just like people always watch. That's why I don't even watch the news, because it's nothing but doom and gloom and what have you. So
I don't have television.
But how
yeah,
do
I
you know,
don't blame you. I don't either. And my whole thing was, like I said, if you don't know what's going on, there's nothing to freak out about.
Yeah, I disagree, because I think now if people were to watch what's going on now in Washington and paying attention to this bill that just passed and watching the congressmen and seeing what's going on through C-SPAN, they wouldn't know what was going on. People would be panicking. And you wouldn't see this great migration from northern states down to Texas and Florida and Arizona getting out of these places. You got to wonder what's coming. I mean, years ago.
It's just the people. I think it's just because this has always been going on, but now that phones and all social media is around, we're knowing more about it. I think stuff's always happened.
Exactly.
But
we've got the internet, and we've got the information coming to us because somebody back 30 years ago knew that we weren't going to get this information any other way.
Yeah. That's just like when the Rittenhouse verdict came out, the guy that ran through that the crowd at that Christmas parade, somebody said that was retaliation for the verdict.
Yeah.
Well, my whole thing about that is the man killed a child molester, and in my opinion, child molesters should have, to me, the dark age punishment. They should have everything cut off and eaten by rats and whatever. So, in my opinion, Rittenhouse is the world of favor.
And that only a few short weeks before he did this, they let him out on a $1,000 bond. So what does that tell you?
And it doesn't make any sense, because people that murder people are in jail for like 10 years or so. But if you have drugs or something on you, you're in there for life. What kind of justice is that? That don't make any daggone sense.
Well, this is part of the deep state plan. And what it tells me is that district attorney, that judge, anybody that had anything to do with his release are crooked.
Exactly.
And it also tells the people of that community they're crooked. And when Q told us that we would have to do the work as well, I mean, we can't just sit back and let the military handle it. We have to do the work too, meaning we have to pay attention and we have to vote accordingly.
The vote
Money talks. Money can make anybody do anything they want.
You need to keep your local communities in check, and that's the whole thing.
Yes, you have to work local, because if you don't, this is what I keep telling people when everybody gets all upset. I look to your governors. If your governor is not doing the right thing, he's the guy that's in charge of you right now. You need to petition your governor, your mayors, your school board, everything local.
Everything has to be local because it starts there. If you can't control yours, you can't control up there. But that's
why I don't vote or get into. That's why I don't vote, because my thing is my one vote is going to make a difference, because somebody's either going to pay somebody off or whatever, and whoever's going to win is going to win.
That's lack of faith in the system.
Your vote does now.
Now it does, and your voice does count.
Now it does.
Yes, the guy that came in behind you
and there's no way to be fraud.
You nullified his. Yes, it was rigged before and everything else, but as Mud Rabbit's saying, that's being fixed or has been. So these next, we can actually know who the fuck is doing what. Yeah. They will nullify the last one because we've got Wisconsin going on. We got Arizona coming, finally maybe doing something. And then Georgia's going to be, sure, man, Pennsylvania's going to fucking explode. All that shit's going to come out. And then we got the court, the date that we got in December, I think, with, the Mossad daughter that controlled intelligence throughout the planet and control factors throughout the planet. Her trial is going to be coming up really soon, and shit's going to hit the fucking fan. And what we got to do is we got to make sure that everybody who knows, who is willing to know or understand, knows. And for that, Junior has a question that he wanted to ask you, Mud Rabbit, because his mom is, she resonates with me really, really well. She's a Bolsonaro fan who is like a zillion version of Trump. And so, yeah, they're all in resonance, which is why Junior's here. And so there's this synchronicity and shit. And so he's got a question about his situation with his mom and the family and what all this comes down to the local community, how this is all affecting us. So let me translate his question for you. Tua pergunta.
Não é o primeiro é um sentimento, né?
It's a feeling, really.
De que com todo esse caos,
all the chaos,
a loucura
the
que está
craziness,
acontecendo
is
e
happening.
é evidente, a gente não está alheio. Eu
It's
estou me
evident,
sentindo
we're not
feliz
strange from
com a
it.
minha família
He's happy with his
e
family
me sentindo orgulhoso por
and
ver minha
proud
mãe se sentindo orgulhosa
to
do filho que ela
see
tem.
his mom being proud of the son that she
Onde
has.
que a gente se vira, a gente se protege,
Where
a gente se
we
confia.
do what we have to do, we protect each other and we trust each other.
Então, o que fazer com esse sentimento?
What can
A
we
partir
do
desse
with
momento
that
onde que a
feeling
gente vê o mundo todo se destruindo, mas
at
a
this
gente se sente
time
ainda feliz.
when we see the world being destroyed, but we still feel happy?
I think a lot of people are experiencing that.
Eu acho que muitos estão tendo essa experiência.
I mean, the world's burning and we're happy here at
O mundo
home with
está
my family.
quebrando, mas nós estamos felizes. Minha família.
Amém, né?
Amen, he says. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A blessed reality. That's what God wants for each one of us, to create our own little paradise so that we don't suffer the ills of depending on the world.
Well, this is why I say I see God working in my life. And I think a lot of people don't take a minute out of their whole damn day just to say, thank you. Thank you, God, for what I do have, because there are people who are in worse shape than I am. And no matter how bad it gets for me, it's never as bad as it is for somebody else. So thank you, God. Take a minute out of your day and be thankful. And that's all it takes. And then you start seeing him work in your life daily.
The benefits are they come from
It's so simple. It's so simple.
They come from unknown vectors because he is everywhere. And so he comes at us when we least expect it, but when he knows we most need it, and he's always there. But this plan has been long coming, and he wrote about it, he warned about it. And, Jacob always liked the fact that I wasn't just a Bible thumper, that I also knew about Mayan theology and Greek mythology and all that kind of Sumerian shit and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they all kind of melt together.
But because they're all telling the same story from a different perspective.
Daria para afirmar que enquanto uns estão destruindo, muitos estão destruindo, ainda existe poucos tentando construir.
So he's trying to confirm, where many are trying to destroy, there are still some that are trying to build.
Enquanto tiver aqui lutando, a gente
As
ainda vai
long as there's
tentar.
one fighting to build things, then we need to come together around building things and making things better.
Dá para pensar assim?
Can we think that way? Não sei. É difícil para a população em geral. It would be a glorious way for all of humanity to think that way. Unfortunately, not everyone does, and we need to prepare ourselves for those who don't. That's kind of my thing. That's why I have my little forest here, and I'm separated from. I'm still in the middle of the city, but I'm like a forest in the middle of the city. So it's kind of like my bat cave. So
Yeah.
the world can flow around me, but I'm still here. But the world's getting to be a pretty ugly place, and I'm curious because we're in the middle of devolution. All right, we were talking about the continuity of government. We're going to be getting into that. We didn't get into it much last week because we were trying to set things up for people that didn't understand where we were coming from or where this particular.
The whole thing fits together.
And like Junior says, where's the hope? Where lies the hope? Where can we be hopeful? He wants to
I don't know
where
about the
so we
rest
can
of you
visit it.
all, but I'm having a blast.
Ela não sei do resto, mas ela está se divertindo. It's a
I'm
beautiful
watching
day.
this whole thing go down from an observer's point of view, and connecting it with all the information that I've been given. And it's amazing. It's just totally amazing.
When a good plan
Everything
comes
is fitting together like a puzzle.
Now, let me ask you this. How much of it is absolutely fantastic human planning from a small group of individuals who are intellectually special, or is it AI, or is it actually going into Project Looking Glass and figuring out different scenarios, find out which ones don't work, and tweaking the fucking plan like a motherfucker? How long have they had Project Looking Glass? And they only gained access to it recently whenever they wrested it from the hands of Hilarion. But
well, what happened was they couldn't see anything. What they found was that after 2012, that all the
2012,
timelines converged.
2012, the Mayan calendar comes to an end. The Chinese Qi comes to an end. You have the Nordic prophecies also coming to an end in 2012. Was the convergence. That was a convergence of the last cycle. They can't predict the next cycle because there's this transition phase between 2012 and 2019, 2014 and 2016 being the most difficult transition periods for humanity to choose which great wheel.
The way I understood it was that all the timelines converged in 2012 and they no longer had control. So which
because
is why
there's a brand new timeline being built. We're on a brand new wheel.
More like all the wheels that were out there, all the possibilities and all the other things just kind of all converged into one.
Yeah.
And they lost control.
Because it's one finality. Their world is over.
That's what they call the Great Awakening.
That is this transition period that we're in, hoping that humanity makes the correct decisions. So according to the Maya, we would grab the positive wheel to where humanity can reach something like Atlantean proportions and that sort of thing.
I think we've been in this transition a lot longer than that. I think we've only become aware of it over the last 4 years.
The transition.
The transition's been going on since Kennedy.
Before.
We've only been aware of the mechanisms the last 4 or 5 years because we've been told.
Yeah. You let a lot of us. However, there's a reason why I was watching Red Pill and Methods. There was a reason why I like to watch Alex Jones. There's a reason why Joe Rogan interested me and I watched him. Because whenever they say things, I recognize things that I have already studied about and wanted to know if there was another crazy ass motherfucker like me who thought the same things.
Well, they deal in common sense, which isn't so common these days.
I knew them to be true. And the time that I was wearing this hat, a long fucking time ago, I was delving into all kinds of fucking rabbit holes. And that's when Waco happened. And that's what made me fucking dig in and find out, all right, what the fuck is going on? Because that shouldn't have fucking happened. Because the videos that I saw, the reality that wasn't being shown on television or on the news, I realized that there was a difference between what was being shown and what was actually going on. And at that point, I said, hold the fuck on, what's up? And so all those guys resonate with me because what they say agrees with the things that I've actually discovered and read about. And so now I found out that there are, yes, many more like me that have a lot more information than I did. And that I do, which is why I want to be able to glean as much information as I can. Why? Because it all goes back to Revelation. And what God tells us. Why? Because it's all, like Junior said, it's all under his plan. And he already wrote it out. He already knows what the adversary is going to do. And he already put his countermeasures in place. Now, at the same time, in this reality, in this three-dimensional reality that we're living in, we have a group personality that, we call the 17th letter of the alphabet, that have come together to be able to tell us. And they always say, in the end, God wins. Absolutely. The thing is that what's going to be going on before that. And like he says, my people perish for they do not know, for lack of knowledge. So my objective with these Tuesdays is to be able to open people up to know, hey, shit's getting real. And all this spiritual stuff isn't nonsense. And it's not just something that you play with. It's the real reality, more real than the reality that people perceive around them. Their stressful rat race of trying to survive. But that's me on a rant again. And again, I want to know where we were at in devolution, because I was reading through and I put the description in the links. I put the link in the description of the video, so it should be there to be able to access all.
Well, everything we're seeing fits right into it. They've been on this path for a long time. Mm-hmm. Patel Patriot just takes it and breaks it down for you, how they're using COVID-19, going back over what Trump said to show us exactly what the little clues are, everything about the election. It's all connected. You've got this thing with the cybersecurity and infrastructure security agent, and you see all these fights going between Twitter and Trump and Facebook and, wanting to repeal, what is it, the 230 or the protection they have?
Article 230, yes, absolutely.
Right. They have invaded our lives so much to a point and made it look like candy.
But see, that's
sorry, Aria?
No, that was me. I was trying to see something else, and I ended up freaking things out. Continue, please. Yeah, we're in the.
There is a rumor going around that they had asked Trump back in the 80s to run for president. The military had approached him. Have you heard of that one?
I know of 3 interviews that I read and saw back at that time when they were asking.
And I remember an interview he did for a magazine, I think it was. Or for news,
Playboy.
One of those entertainment things where they asked him if he would ever consider becoming president.
I remember reading that.
You've got all these little clues running back. And then there was that little drop that I forget where I read it. There's just so much information out there. That it was going to be sooner than it was, but that his father had passed or his mother had passed, somebody had died, and they put it off. So that tells me that they had this going.
They were going to take everything over in the 80s?
No, I'm saying they've had this going since Kennedy's assassination. They jumped right into it. It's been playing out all these years, and now they've gotten to a point where they need the public to know what's going on, so there's no mass panic.
Well, see, they need the public to be aware of it. Otherwise,
right. And whether they like it or not, this is why we just shouldn't argue with people who don't believe the same thing, because whether they like it or not, they're going to see it. It's happening right before their eyes, and one by one, you're seeing people
afterwards of their own volition and their own free will.
I can't think they'd allow this to happen if they didn't have a contingency.
I hope so, because my entire family got the jab.
Mine too.
And so I'm thinking that
mine too. But if it's God's will, who am I to say no? I mean, I worry daily. And when they're sick, I worry over them, think, oh my God, does this have anything to do with it? But I couldn't stop them.
That's what, and exactly. And that's what my aunt told me. She's like, hey, I trust in God. And so, if nothing's going to happen to me, nothing's going to happen to me. And I hope she's right. I paid for a ticket for my dad to go to the States, from Mexico to the States, to be able to visit his mother. I got it before all the lockdowns, but my aunt got all freaked out and said, well, you're going to wait because you're going to whatever. And so he waited. And after he waited, then he was forced to actually get the jab in order to travel. And so, I got a problem with all that stuff.
Trying to convince anybody is only going to cause disharmony in the family, and that's the last thing you want to do.
Well, I'm not getting it, because any shot that has 3 different brands that's supposed to kill the same illness, that's concerning to me. Because if it kills one virus, it should only be one shot. There shouldn't be so many variations.
What does that tell you
about
the first 2? First, there was only 1. And then they said, you need to take 2. And now you have to get boosters. And maybe there's going to be
it's not even that. It's like there's Pfizer and Moderna and all that. If it kills one virus, there should only be one of it.
They're looking for something that works. They're looking for something that works, and it's not working.
Yes, because why would you purposely put a disease in your body when you could fight it? I mean,
Well, I've
That
already
goes
had
back.
COVID. So.
Yeah, that goes back to Louis Pasteur about 150 years ago. Whenever he discovered that you could put a smaller dose, a non-destructive dose of an illness that will prevent the reactions, the post reactions that will be much worse, and that's how vaccines were created. And it does actually work. It makes you sick beforehand, but not as much as it would have been in because they had large death counts, and Louis Pasteur actually
Yeah,
saved lives.
they've
with
been
what-
upping the amount of vaccines that little kids and babies have to take over the years. I mean, when I was a kid, we only needed the 4 when we were little, and then what was it? The smallpox
Yeah,
when we were
exactly.
about 8 or 9, and that was it. 5. Now kids
Now
are
you
taking
got
20,
25,
25.
40.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And they don't ask you, well, which measles shot do you want to give your kid? Which chicken pox shot? It's one. So why is there
No,
3
we
different
didn't even
variations
have
of
those
COVID?
when I was a kid. You just caught the stuff so you'd never catch it again. Your mother would take you over to your friend's house who had chicken pox and sit you down next to him, and you
Chicken
catch
pox
chicken
parties.
pox. Yeah.
Everybody got
Yeah.
it together, and you got past it, and everybody's good.
Yep. Yep.
You deal with all the fevers at the same time. Nobody scratches, and everybody controls everybody else from not scratching. And hey,
You
we're
just
all
buy
good.
a gallon
Yep.
of calamine lotion.
And lots of fucking calamine lotion.
Yeah.
Definitely. But see, that's the way
Yeah.
medicine and healing actually works. But that doesn't make money for big pharma. Okay,
Mm-mm.
and therein lies the crux of the question of where we're at today.
Because the medicine they give you doesn't cure anything. It just like glazes over the pain. That's
No,
why they
but
tell you
Why
to
my
take little
doctor
remedies
hates
and
me.
stuff.
I won't take anything.
No, I went to my shrink. She wanted me to go on antidepressants, and I said, "Why? You're a drug dealer. I'm not gonna have to do what you want me to do." She goes, "What? You see me as a drug?" Say, "Yeah, a legal one. You're trying to sell me something that makes me feel better." Okay, great. I got coke and pot and ecstasy and all kinds of other things that also make me feel good.
And they do
So
the same
how's
thing.
yours?
Kill the pain.
What?
I get daily migraines, so I have to take over-the-counter medicine, or I.
Oh yeah, but you got to ask yourself why you have the migraines. Okay, so therein lies they don't
Because
cure.
I had a concussion from years ago, and I have a crack in my skull.
Oh well, okay. There are
Yeah, but we're not
individuals
talking
who
about
feel much
over-the-counter
more difficult.
medications. Those things
But-
are
but
pretty
normally-
much safe. We're talking about the heavy-duty stuff. You need a prescription.
Oh, that's why I refuse to take it. I know it's addicting, and I come from a family that has addictive personalities. My grandfather was an alcoholic, and he raped my mother and all her sisters. So I can't stand alcohol.
We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there.
So-
We got to focus back on what these, because these satanic motherfuckers are actually doing a lot worse than that. That is actually child's play compared to what we're about to find out in a couple of weeks. Because the things that are going to be coming out are going to shock the entire fucking planet. But before we get into that, they had to set up all the things that would be able to counteract or ameliorate, make less painful the transition when people actually found out how twisted, fucking corrupt all of their fucking governments around the planet were. And so that's the place where we're at, the continuity of government.
You don't even have to go that high. You don't even have to go that high in the hierarchy. Just think of how many little girls and boys came home and told their mom that they were abused, and their mother told them it was all in their mind. And when this comes out, that mother, imagine how she's going to feel when she realizes her child was telling her the truth.
I always believe my kids, no matter what, because my reality is
Exactly.
about my kids. My kids.
And they're
I mean,
perceiving something. If
I'll
they're
follow
telling you
school.
something like that, something's wrong. Even
But
if
see,
they're
the thing
just
is-
making it up, something's wrong.
But yeah, it's all got psychological undertones, and you got to pay attention to
Yes.
every single fucking one of those signs.
Kids
Because
read people's
Parents
energy.
these
If they
days
don't
are
like
really
you,
busy.
then you know that they're a bad person.
I'm sorry.
nobody's really. Go
I
ahead.
said kids pick up on energy. So
Yeah,
if they
they
feel
do.
uncomfortable around you, that's how you know that they're a bad person. It's the same with animals.
Yeah,
Animals can
like that little
sense.
girl that swatted Joe Biden the other day.
Okay, but see, that's not even Joe. But anyway, I don't know who that fucking guy is.
Anybody that goes up to people and smells their heads randomly and you don't know them, that's concerning.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on. There's like 3 different levels of understanding of that particular thing, because I do that to my nephews and my kids. Why? Because
Okay, that's different, but you don't go up to random people and smell their hair.
yes, but
That's what
see,
I'm
the thing
saying.
is, whenever you are a hunter and you are used to smelling your kill, you get the hunger. And therein lies the problem. He's so fucking old and demented, he can't hide the hunger.
Right.
But that will also be exposed. And that's what's about to fucking happen in the next couple of
Yeah.
weeks or the next
Well,
month.
just compare it. I mean, look at what happens when the kids went up to Trump. He picked him up, he kissed him, he put him back down. It's
Yeah, but they want to say
totally-
that he's like raped all these women and stuff now too. So
Oh, that's just the
No,
media.
he
It's all
didn't.
bullshit. It's all
No,
bullshit.
he didn't. I am 65 years old. That has never been in the news, ever.
No.
that's what I said. Like I've never, because they're trying to say that he had made the comment on the show that he would sleep with his daughter because she was hot or
No,
something like
that's
that.
them misinterpreting, and that's their
No, that's
actual.
not what he said at all.
No,
That's
that's
not
them
what he said at
mirroring
all.
their will on someone else as well, because they're the sick ass motherfuckers.
I
and they
saw
want
that
everything
interview.
from me. I
And what
did
he
too.
Well,
did
my
was
whole
pay
thing is
his
just like I said during the election. If you flip between each news show, somebody has something different to say. One
Because that's
says
also
that
falling. That's being destroyed right now as well, because the media is
one
being
like
destroyed
yeah.
with the Rittenhouse case and with the Maxwell case. The media will no longer be there. I mean, they're talking about right now of sharing custody of CNN between the 2 kids that sued the fuck out of CNN. That's the meme that's going around right now.
Oh, this is going to be the best part of the show.
It will
Well,
be.
what I'm saying is, like, one news station will say that Trump is the second coming of Christ. The other one will say that he's the devil, and then there's one that that may actually be telling the truth. So,
Well,
depending on which channel you watch, and I guess
how
depending
about
on what side
this?
you choose, I
Trump
don't know.
What does your gut tell you?
is master. He
I
knows.
don't think there. I thought Trump was a good president. I didn't see
He
anything
is.
wrong with Trump. I thought what he did was. I didn't have any issue with him. And I'm not into politics. I'm not into all that, but I didn't see anything wrong with Trump.
Well,
I mean, there's good and bad in everybody. You just need to decide what's
A large
what's better
majority
in
of
each person.
people don't know his history. And if a large
Yeah.
majority of people would take the time and look at his history, they would understand.
Yeah. People like to destroy what they're intimidated by. And to me, I think Trump, like I said, I think Trump did a good job. And now look where we are now. I mean, grocery prices skyrocketed, gas prices have skyrocketed.
That's
Yep.
That's Obama's 16-year plan. That's the
You
fucking
can't
Marxist
tell
agenda for
people,
America.
you have to show them.
They have to
We
see
were
it,
told.
unfortunately. And if
Ação.
you know
Ação e reação, né?
you have actions and reactions, and they know that. Eles conhecem as reações e eles já preveem, colocam ações para fazer aquela reação para manipular tua ação a ser o que eles querem. I'm trying to explain
Eles estão sempre passo à frente daí,
18th century theory to where action and reaction, you actually put out an action to create a reaction from the public that you know that they will react to, and that way they can be manipulated and controlled more easily. The Fantastic Freddy's that always happen to induce people into accepting actions that they otherwise would never accept. So yes, the problem is that whenever we recognize that programming, that intrinsic human programming, there are those who would abuse it. And there are those have abused it to their own benefit for a very long fucking time, and that is about to.
A gente costuma
The
usar
mistake they made.
quando a coisa começa a apertar aqui, a gente busca ir para aquilo lá que não está tão em voga. Se está caro aquilo, a gente vai comprar porque é mais barato.
As a Brazilian used to inflation, says we get around with creativity. We find out if it's expensive here, well, we'll go to the other place, and then you find different ways to get around, because Brazil has dealt with hyperinflation, in 1980.
Well, like I said, I'm appreciative of the stimulus checks and the child tax credits and all that. But if it's going to raise the price of everything and screw us over in the end, no, I don't want it.
No,
I
that's
mean,
the whole thing. That's why each one has to actually stand on their own two legs
Essa ideia de que
to
tudo está no
help
mercado, para a hora
themselves,
que
to
você
be able to
conseguir
help
colocar a mão
others.
também, faz parte do consumismo que eles quiseram para fazer controle.
Sim, mas he's saying everything that's on the market is also induced and controlled by the central government to make sure that what they want to be available is available. Tem nações corporativas que também afetam isso. There are corporate issues that also affect that.
That's just like people were hoarding toilet paper. What are you going to do with toilet paper instead of hoarding food?
That's just
Look at
them
what
being
happened this
stupid.
week. He opened up our oil reserves, our strategic oil reserves. You're not supposed to touch those. Those are supposed to be used in times of war.
Who filled those reserves? Trump filled those reserves.
Exactly. They were low. Obama ran them out.
Agora, por exemplo,
Because that's the 16-year plan. Us being dependent on absolutely anybody and being destitute little beggars for China to give us fucking handouts and buy out everything and be owner of
Okay,
everything.
if they knew the deep state playbook, then they knew they were going to do this. So
Yes.
what they've done is they have taken it and turned it around on them. Now they have to speed up their plans, and we're all watching it going, what the hell?
Because they turned up the heat on boiling the frogs, and the frogs are
Right.
starting to jump out the
So
fucking
they've
skillet.
got to have a contingency plan for all of this if they're going to let it go through. You have to show the people. You can't tell them. You have to show them. And we were told that's what's going to happen. Enjoy the show.
Step by step. There's nothing we can really do. The people that are going to fall are already going to fall, and the pieces are already in place. All we can
They've
do
already
is
lost. They've already lost. Think
In the
chess.
end, God wins. Period. The only thing that we can actually do.
When you play chess, you usually know 5 or 6 moves before the end of the game that you've either lost or you've won.
You have
If
to.
you're on the losing side, you know that all you can do are those 6 moves, and you know what the inevitability of the whole thing is going to be. And the person you're playing against, chances are they know they've already won. You just have to go through the moves. They're going through the moves right now.
My whole thing is, why is everything in this country made in China? Why isn't anything made in America?
It didn't used to be that way. We used to have the Buy America slogan.
But see, that's the whole plan.
Happened. This was Obama. He shipped all of our. He made taxes
Mud Rabbit. It was well before Obama. Obama, yeah, it was a continuation of the plan. But this all happened with Nixon. Why? Because they figured out they could actually use the slave labor there, and they could actually induce, and use the communist revolution, which they and themselves, the big fucking group, had already induced, having learned from Russia and expanding that shit and perfecting it even more. I mean, even more people died. 63 million people died for China to become communist. So they learned from all that shit, and they tried to implement. I mean, Soros's biggest fucking coup de grace would be to down the American dollar after he did the pound sterling. So these motherfuckers have been in charge and been running this game for a long fucking time.
They've been doing it slowly, and then each president has dropped tariffs. I mean, when I was in school and we were learning civics, we learned that tariffs is what protected a lot of our savings. And they all got rid of the tariffs. Yet we have to pay tariffs when we take something into another country. And that's very unbalanced. So Trump put all the
however,
back.
as international business, I also, and as an early globalist, because when I was doing my studies and masters for economics and getting into Harvard, yes, I was a globalist. I didn't want borders. Why? Because I didn't like me having to go through that shit, because I trusted that most people would be like me. The problem is I'm a lot fucking older now, and I realize that not everybody's like me. And I don't want every motherfucker to come into wherever I need, because I don't feel safe around some of those motherfuckers because they want to kill my ass. Okay, I don't.
My whole thing is, if we actually had stuff being built in our country for our country, there would be more people with jobs. Why are we supplying jobs in other countries where they have sweatshops and they have children building food?
Because that has been the plan for the last 80 years.
Yeah, that's been the plan to break us.
What make the United States great is the American middle class and the ability to produce things for the rest of the world. When Europe wasn't producing, when Asia didn't have any capacity, the United States was producing goods for everybody. And Americans, not everybody, because half the world was excluded to us. But we fed, we produced for half the world's needs and benefits. And we benefited from that. And others
Yeah.
learned from the plan. And they decided they wanted to get richer off somebody else's slave labor, because even though we don't have slaves anymore, they found a new way to make them. And many of our tennis shoes, clothes.
We are the slaves, sweetie.
My whole thing is, unless you're a Native American, everybody came here, and everybody that's here is an immigrant, because Native Americans were here first. So everybody's an
Yeah,
immigrant. So I'm all about, helping each other out and all that stuff like that.
Everybody's an immigrant everywhere. Everybody's an immigrant everywhere, because the Native Americans came over on the strait from Siberia.
No, hold on. No.
I
got to call you out on that one, Mud Rabbit, because that was something that, yes, I followed along for a very long time. Everything goes through Siberia and came all the way down.
We had them coming across there. We had them coming up from South America, across Mexico. We had them coming in by boat from the islands.
How did they get to South America before the American Indians came through Siberia? You've got the Chinese coming over on their boats across the Pacific. That's where you got the Polynesian islands and everything else in the continuation.
Yeah, absolutely.
People in Peru and in southern and Bolivia and that sort of thing have many Asian traits. You can see the Asianness in them.
Yes.
And it's so yes, the normal anthropological model of human expansion across the globe has its conduits, but is not complete. I remember when I was 13 reading the Count of Tiki or some shit like that, to where a guy made a passage on the Kon-Tiki. That's it.
Yeah, Kon-Tiki.
Where he actually went across the Pacific Ocean on one of those little fucking Asian kayaks and shit. And he did it. And he proved that that's how you can get to Easter Island and that sort of thing. And I was like 13, 14 years old and going, holy shit. No, actually, I was more like 10.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it one bit.
So let's start
everybody comes from someplace.
And the Anthropological Museum there in Mexico, you go through their pre-Columbian history, which isn't necessarily in agreement with American history.
I saw a map today. It was an old world map that showed Atlantis in the Atlantic Ocean, and it showed Mu in the Pacific.
Yeah.
Apparently, there were land masses before the flood where these people could have come from as well. Or maybe they spread out from these places.
Yeah. I'm all about people coming over here. My whole thing is do it legally.
Yes.
Because
hold on. Legal is another issue. Junior was trying to tape what was being said so he can translate it on his Google Translator and be able to figure out what was going on, because we were talking about the Kon-Tiki. Estamos falando sobre a propagação das espécies aqui na Terra, que ela começou a falar que viemos através do Bering. Eu estava falando que os chineses enviaram ao logo e tinham um livro chamado Kon-Tiki que aconteceu lá. E ela estava falando que somos todos imigrantes de uma forma ou outra, e isso basicamente... e ela também estava falando de Mu. Tá? Esse foi o próximo tópico que você estava tentando gravar, e isso que eu queria tocar com ela, porque Mu é antes de Atlântida, porém era uma realidade, um império global que também estava em controle desta época.
É uma matéria que tu sabe muito bem, inclusive.
Yeah, he's saying, I know that topic really well about Mu, because Mu was before, or Lemuria was before. But then we got Atlantis, which is something I've studied since I was 7. Those were global empires. They had technology that rivals the technology that we have today. They were using crystals to store information and everything else. They had flying vehicles back in those times. And so all those things...
The Egyptians were ahead of their time, too. They invented some things, too.
Well, yeah, that's the giants. It's the fallen angels. They had the knowledge from predate, and they were trying to recreate it here because they lost their connection with the creative spirit of God. So they can no longer create things. They just need to copy what they remember they have.
Okay? Or get us to do it for them.
Exactly. And they've been doing that generation after generation. And Mu, yeah, it was huge. But Mu, I don't know how happened. The Mayans said that we're on the 5th generation of humanity on this cycle. And so there have been various cycles of destruction, the last one being the flood, and that's because of Atlantis. So Mu was before that. So I'm curious if you can actually tell me, was Mu destroyed by fire or what? Because we have Lemuria, the Mu, and they had their own destructive cycles to make sure that those societies didn't reach dangerous.
I don't know how they were destroyed, but personally, I think they were wiped off the map by the floods.
See, the flood wiped out Atlantis because and that gives us the demons, because the giants were everywhere and the genetic programming had completely altered everything. And only those who had not been genetically altered were allowed to survive. And even some of those were problematic, which means we had giants after the flood as well, because Ham's wife was the daughter of a high priest of Baal.
Yeah.
So she already had some of that shit going on in her. And that's what propagated that shit afterwards. It's all about the genes. And we learned that in Enoch. But
Okay, so do y'all believe that we evolved from monkeys? Or
No.
do y'all
No.
believe that we were, huh?
I don't believe that for 1 minute.
there ain't no fucking monkey
I'm
in
just
me.
curious because everybody's got their own opinion. That's why I was,
They can have their opinion, but I ain't no fucking monkey.
well, that's,
They can have their monkeys and their flat.
Sétima geração de Adão, né?
well, and then some Christians say that dinosaurs never happened and none of that happened because time didn't start until Adam and Eve and all that stuff.
Because they don't fucking know. Okay, that's have patience and forgive them their ignorance. They try.
Well, that's my question: is were Adam and Eve before or after the dinosaurs?
Before.
So where'd all the people go while the dinosaurs were there?
They
They
didn't
were
go
always
anywhere.
around.
The
It's a
dinosaurs.
stupid question, but I'm curious. I mean, I'm just wondering.
Dinosaurs were genetic
The
alterations.
dinosaurs. I saw something interesting before that showed how the dinosaurs were genetic manipulations by the giants.
Yeah.
They were putting their Nephilim DNA into everything, which is why
Right.
God brought the flood. Because
Exactly.
before all genetic code, why? Because we learn in Enoch. What happens is that the bad guys did their shit and they knew what they were going to do, but they had their fun and they had their kids and they wanted mercy for their kids. And God said, "Fuck you! You fucked around. You fucked up. Fuck around and find out." So they didn't like that. And so they got this vengeance shit. And what their objective has been ever since Adam and even before that is to destroy our fucking DNA. Why? Because theirs isn't accepted. So they want to make sure that ours isn't accepted as well.
Well, what did the
burn in hell.
serpent
They want
promise Eve?
everybody to burn in hell with them.
What did the serpent promise Eve?
To be like God.
Exactly. And what does this attitude we're dealing with?
We're all personal
be?
gods. My
Right.
world is more important than everybody else's because I am the end all be all.
Okay, so if you look at the story of Adam and Eve as an allegory to what's happening today, do you see it?
It's always an allegory because we are all Adam and Eve. We are all
Right. I mean, I think people take that story too literally.
But it is. But I take it literally. I do believe it is. But it is also symbolic. Why? Because God talks to us on 5 different fucking levels. And he taught me that in study when I was trying to figure out how to talk to extraterrestrials that we had from what was that the astronomer, Carl Sagan, things that he had discovered on how to communicate with Vega and other stars and everything else. And that led me, and I was deep in at this particular point in my studies. And he talked to me going, "Yeah, you found another gate. So I'm here for you. Let's talk." And so I've had an ongoing conversation with him. Sometimes I close the connection because I don't do the right things. And when you don't do the right things, you lose your connection. That's what the fallen angels found out because they did the wrong fucking thing completely. They followed their own will and volition and they lost the connection, which is why they can no longer create. They can only copy.
Neither can psychopaths.
Exactly. And they complete psychopaths, unfeeling because they do not understand, comprehend, or empathize because it's all about manipulation and about their control and domination of everything.
They manipulate you to do it for them.
Because
so now we see the Cain line.
But we see that because, there was a movement that actually pulled the veil away, and there's a great awakening. But the Bible also tells us that with the great awakening, there will be a great falling away. And that is what I'm fearful of. Because of all this corruption, finding out how pedophilic these sick motherfuckers are and have been for a very long fucking time, people are going to lose face in everything.
We have a large Christian population here in this area. And there's a lot of families that go back and forth between here and Haiti. I mean, the little boys that play with my grandsons, they're from Haiti. The kids up the street, they're from Haiti. How do you think these people are going to react as they find out what happened in Haiti? I mean, I can see a lot of anger, and I can see a lot of overprotectiveness, and I can see people.
That's what I say when they brought all the refugees over here from Iraq and Afghanistan. No, and you don't know what terrorists were inclined and all that.
Refugees before they brought citizens wanting to come back.
Yeah.
That is a question you got to fucking ask yourself. What did that sadistic, traitorous piece of fucking garbage bring in potential terrorists, Al-Qaeda, and unknown persons before he brought in American citizens that were requesting to be flown out?
He stranded them over there, and he's ignoring their pleas to be brought home.
No, not only that, they had to go through Taliban checkpoints to get to the fucking airport. So they knew they'd be detained and executed if they actually went.
Right.
So what was the point of even fighting the war all these years if they end up taking over anyway? So all them people were killed and had PTSD and all that for nothing.
Because the Chinese told Biden, hey, I bought your kids' painting. Now let Afghanistan go because we won it. We got to deal with them, and we need you to look back.
And boy, they moved right in, didn't they?
So give them all our shit. That's what Obama did in Pakistan. You think the fucking accident of the rollerblade was a fucking accident? You don't go in with 2 helicopters. You go in with 2 helicopters if you're going to sacrifice one of them. Why? Because the tail rudder, the Pakistanis grabbed and sold to the Chinese. And woo-bah, 2 months later, we've got the brand new version of the Chinese stealth fucking fighter. They'd already stolen all the details. They just didn't know what the materials or paint was like. And they needed physical samples of that. And Obama gave it to them on fucking platter.
Casa deles estão caindo já, né, Miguel?
He's saying the House of Cards is falling. Yes,
it is. It's falling, and it's amazing to watch. It's totally amazing to watch.
And I'm all about people coming and getting refuge and stuff if they're in a terrorist country and need it, like mothers and children and stuff like that. I'm not saying all Iraqi and Muslims and people are terrorists. I'm not saying that, but with what's going on now and that being the main source of terrorism, you would assume that they would take a much higher level of precaution when it comes to that.
But they're not,
especially with us being in debt. And that's my thing too. We've been in debt forever, but yet we have enough money all of a sudden to get all these stimulus checks out and get all this. So where'd all our debt go?
There are 3 questions in the middle of that, and the following. First of all, trust no Muslims because fuck them. And if they want to ban me or cancel me for anything else, I got no fucking problem with that. Less fucking people and trolls on my feet. Okay, that's a goddamn problem, and it always has been ever since the Catholic Church fucking founded their shit. Okay, why? Because they also have rosary beads.
Well, they're not letting in women and children. They're letting in young, able-bodied men and then scooting them away to training.
The people.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. I can understand wanting to take, get your children away from it, but with what's going on and all the terrorism, you would think
that's the Statue of Liberty. Give me your hungry. Give me your tired.
I have 2 sister-in-laws. This is where it touches me. I have 2 sister-in-laws with their children living in Lebanon. And every time there's a freaking bomb going off, I worry about them. And do you think for once they could get approval on their passport and get a visa to come over here? No, they can't.
Because they're Christians.
Right. They're Christians and they're women.
They will not protect their own. They're traitors. They are Satanists.
Well, that goes back to what Mud Rabbit said. We need to be appreciative of where we're at, because we could be in a
Yes.
third world country and be having to eat worms and it's just terrible.
But what is third world? Because before Brazil and Mexico were considered third world, but in many
Third
places,
world is where you're, I don't know, wearing a hula skirt and hunting for your own food and no electronics, no running water. That's third world.
I've walked through it. It's when you walk through an alleyway where you know there's a sewer line under your feet, under the sidewalk you're walking on, and the only thing you can smell is rotting flesh. It's going up to a building thinking it's got beautiful brickwork and wanting to take a picture, and that stench hits you so hard that it literally knocks you back. That's
it's me
world.
going up to the Coliseum wanting to
Yeah.
see beautiful marble work, and the only thing I can sense is a smell of piss around the fucking gate.
Yeah. But when you do this, I mean, I had been to Beirut after they had the last big skirmish, and everything that was once beautiful in the main square had been bombed out. Buildings had holes in them. I mean, not just one hole, many holes. No glass, no doors, no nothing, just the walls and the doorways.
You can't
the holes.
rebuild 20 times. I mean, my grandmother used to tell me about her honeymoon in Beirut and how beautiful it was, and it was the Paris of the Middle East.
Yeah,
And it was
that's
a
what
beautiful
everybody says about
place. And it was absolutely fantastic. But see, that's what
When I saw it, all of that was bombed out, and we went into the bazaar, and that's where I caught the smell. And I looked at my husband, and he said, "Let's go. We can't stay here." And we had to leave this little area, but people were walking around like, they had to get to market. They had to go here. They had to go there. They got used to it. I don't see, it's got to be really bad when people who live in what you didn't consider a third world country have to deal with. And it's worse in other areas than it is in the area I was in. The area I was in was a little outskirt of Beirut. But we did go into the Bekaa Valley, and you could see the signs they would have painted on the sides of these walls of the American flag and the fist coming through it, because we were in the Southern Territory.
Yeah.
We had to go with the
and
general.
That's just like sad to me, because and it's even like in North Korea, like they don't know anything but what they know. They're so shut off from the outside world. They think that's normal.
Well,
and
these people
that's
weren't shut off from the outside world, but their world went from a normal existence to third world overnight. Completely dead bodies rotting in the sewer system. So yeah, that's what they wanted to do to us.
Like the Holocaust all over again. I can't even imagine.
Well, see, that happens repeatedly, and unless you know history, it will repeat itself. And what they're trying to create,
we are so insulated in this country, on this side of the world. We are so insulated against things like that to us it's just a fantasy. But when you actually stand in the middle of it and look at it, you can't help but cry. My sister-in-law, I was in one of my sister-in-law's apartments, and there was this big hole in the street, and I asked her what that was, and she explained it was a mortar and what they did when they heard the whistle. And then she took me out on the balcony, and she pointed at the end of the street, which was probably maybe 30, 35 feet from where we were at. And she's explaining to me that she sent her son down to put the garbage in the dumpster. There's a dumpster there. And she said no sooner than he had left and gone down the steps and out the front door, because they were on the second floor, she heard it coming in. And when she ran to the balcony to see where her son was, all she saw was the missile hit the dumpster, and she thought her son was in it. She went running down there. She says, "Peggy, I was pulling out arms and legs and heads and feet of children and adults." And she says, looking for a piece of body that I could identify my son with. Turns out Moni didn't do that. Moni did what every 13-year-old kid does and dropped it at the front door and went to play video games with somebody else, and it saved his life. But can you imagine being where she was doing that? I can't imagine.
I can't either. I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, that's why I said we are so insulated here. We do not understand the horrors that go on in other countries, and we're complaining about a little bit of inconvenience.
Exactly.
I can't imagine.
I give my sympathies to you. I can't even compare to that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so it's like you really have to take everything into perspective. People are
Yeah.
complaining. They want everything done yesterday. Well, to hell with that. Think about what
Right.
goes on in these other countries. We have no clue whatsoever. And our news people don't tell us. I remember the night before I left Lebanon, I was sitting, they had bombed the Bekaa Valley, and we had just been there the day before. So they bombed the Bekaa Valley, and I'm watching CNN News on my sister-in-law's television. And they're talking all about what's going on and where they found the munitions and where it got bombed and so forth. But when I got back to the States, I turned on the television to see what was going on over there. And the story they told was completely different.
Well, people need to understand that our bad days, what some Americans see as their bad days, could be other people's good days.
Yeah.
You know, oh, well, my Wi-Fi don't work. Oh, well, at least you got a roof over your head. I mean,
Right.
so yeah, I completely agree with you.
But the point was, when I got back to the States and turned on the TV to listen to what CNN was saying about it, they turned it into a big deal of a terrorist attack on this. And it was so totally different from what the actual news was over there. And it was the same people. It was CNN on both sides of the globe. They were telling one story over there in Lebanon on the English speaking channel. And then when you got home, they're telling you something totally opposite.
I saw that when I traveled to Europe and Mexico as well. Each area has their own programming and messaging. And I noticed that when I was very young.
The same thing happened. Remember when the oil rig went in the Gulf of Mexico?
Oh, God. Halliburton?
It wasn't just that one. There was two of them, and they never told us about the second one. And the only way I found out about the second one was because I was in Halifax in Nova Scotia at the time, and they reported it on the news. And when I went online up there and I looked it up, and it showed where this oil rig went off. It was closer to Texas. It wasn't just Halliburton and the one oil rig. There were two oil rigs in the Gulf, and they both went off.
See, I didn't even
know.
That's
what I was saying earlier. When I was talking about Trump, I was like, each station, even each TV station, reports something different about the same time.
I was outside the country when I got the news, and when I was outside the country, I was getting something closer to the truth. And then when I was back inside the country, it was so totally different, and they never told you about the second oil rig.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And this is what I've seen happen every time. So I'm always making a point when I travel outside the States, I watch the news over there, and then I compare it to what
I don't watch the news. I refuse to watch the news. I don't, because it's all doom and gloom, and it's constantly a shooting or a bombing, or I don't want to watch that.
I don't. This was years ago when I was traveling, but now I don't have television. I don't have cable. All I have is a Roku television, one of those smart TVs, so I can get Rumble and YouTube. That's it.
That's what I do with my kids too. I have the same thing.
My thing is that I'm a news junkie, and so why? Because I traveled a lot. Throughout my entire childhood, I was always going between two countries, and throughout the majority of until I was 20, traveling between U.S., Mexico, and Europe as well. So yeah, I got lots of different news from lots of different areas, airports, magazines, lots of time.
Yeah, when I traveled, I liked it.
Yeah, so the thing is that I'm a news junkie, but I trusted it at that point. Now I don't have cable television. I don't watch any of the news that I hear the reporting about. I'm only on the internet because
that's what I'm saying. Like, I have nothing against, I watch Marf and stuff like that. I don't have an issue with that. I just won't watch local news like CNN or any of that stuff.
The only reason for that is the news forecast. I don't know if it's going to rain or not. I learned that from my grandparents.
I got an app on my phone that tells me the weather.
Yeah, but then again, I remember when there were only 4 channels, and you had to wait for a certain time period during the week in order to watch the show that you wanted to watch. Yeah. But that's what it was last millennium. Things have changed. But at this point, we are at the border of the next millennial reign. And there are lots of transitions that are happening. Devolution is going. We got continuity of government. We got
everything we see happening is part of devolution.
And it was all pre-planned because it had to happen this way.
So do you think these doomsday people that have stocked up on all this stuff, do you think that they're smart for doing that? Like,
Absolutely.
Would you do that?
Always.
Yeah,
Always.
because the prices are going up.
Yeah.
So they saved a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You have to prepare because you don't know. Because my whole thing was this: if the mark takes in, and I have to submit to a system, to who they tell me to worship, which I'm not going to fucking do, I no longer have an ability to buy or sell, which means that I need to survive outside that fucking system, hoping that that system doesn't cut my fucking head off, which they eventually will as well, because that's also written about. But trying to not be in that system is the reality that I'm still trying to fucking create after 40 years. I still haven't been able to be able to be self-sustainable, your own water, your own food, so that you don't depend on the system. But that's me being crazy when
Yeah.
everybody else is growing and doing all their things, but they're doing it within.
I mean, and I get that, and you need to be prepared for the future, but you can't be like dwelling on it because you never know what's going to happen. You can walk outside and get hit by a bus, so you
Well,
need
then
to
again,
enjoy every day.
then again, we look at the Amish. You know, the Amish have been preparing for this for a very long time. They knew the technology was going to be a downfall because it controls us all, because it makes our life easier, it makes us lazier. So who's to say that the Amish are wrong? What are the COVID rates
That's
in
their belief. That's the thing
Yeah.
with
I
the
think the
Amish,
best
that's
thing
their
you
belief.
can do is get with your community,
Posso botar uma pimenta no
get
negócio?
to know your neighbors, get to help your neighbors,
Por
make
favor?
relationships with your
Não valia
neighbors,
a pena.
because that's where it
Se ele
starts. And
realmente
when
jogou
things go
coerente,
haywire, that's who you have to depend on. You have each other. You
Yeah.
have entire communities here who don't know the names of the people that live next door to them. I mean, get out there.
Well, see,
go
I
talk to
don't,
them.
and I grew up. I think I talked to you a little bit about it before. I grew up on, with dial-up and stuff. So I've always grew up in chat rooms and stuff, and I've never been a physical relationship person. And I have Asperger's. I have moderate autism, so I'm uncomfortable being around people. I don't like to be touched. I don't like any of that stuff. But virtually, I feel more at home virtually, and I feel more comfortable virtually. And I have really bad social anxiety, and I'm really awkward when it comes to people. But online, I'm more comfortable. I feel like I can talk and
You're in your comfort zone.
yeah. But if you were to talk to me in person, I would just be awkward. I wouldn't be able to look you in the eye. I would I'd be saying like every other word, because that's just how I am. But I'm more comfortable online because this is all I've known. I've
Mhm.
never, had friends or sleepovers or any of that stuff. All of my friends have always been in chat rooms. Every relationship except, my kids' fathers were virtual, because I'm more able to open up and be myself and say what I want to say.
Yeah. That
That's
can also be a two-edged sword with the internet.
The internet all gives us a voice, but at the same time, when you expose your voice, you expose yourself. And so it depends. And therein lies a question of the word. Why? Because the internet is just an expansion of what our reality is. Because our reality, we are also reaching out with the individuals, but you have learned, and many other people have learned, that in reality, you got to be reserved because you can't have that effect on others. However, on the internet, we think that we don't have the same resonance or effect on anything else. And so we go out there and be our ebullient selves without the same social constructs and restrictions that we develop in the real world. And with that in mind, Junior was going to ask a question, but he walked off now for something else. I think he ordered sushi or something. He might be hungry.
Ooh,
Yeah,
sushi.
Sushi. I had sushi the other day.
he thinks I like salmon, and so he tries to please me. So he buys sushi and shit, but he's hungry.
Oh, he's a nice
But that's
guy.
Yeah, he is completely, and he's got that Brazilian attitude of he comes over to somebody, não com as mãos abanando. He always brings something over. So he'll bring over a case of beer or something else like that. And
I have the Southern attitude. You come over here, then I cook for everybody, and all that. That's what I do. I got the Southern hospitality attitude.
No, it's just being a good human being, and that is something that is lacking in humanity today. And that is
I
also
just learned to
sometimes
respect my elders.
antichrist. It's the antichrist spirit. Foi o sushi mesmo?
Sim.
Não, eu falei.
I mean, I was
Não,
a hellion child. I'm not gonna lie. I was disrespectful. I was rude
eu
or
já
whatever.
falei para eles que
And
foi
I,
isso que pegou.
my
E agora
mother
vamos
corrected me,
perguntar sobre
in ways that we can't do in today's society. So I've learned to respect my elders.
All right. So considering this is a live and lots of crazy shit fucking happens, and which is why I don't like lives. This should be pure devolution, but since it's not, I wanted to show you guys what Junior went to the front to pick up. Just sashimi, a bunch of salmon sashimi, and we'll probably eat that afterwards. No,
I'll be
sushi.
right there.
And he wanted to ask
I'm
a
hitching a ride with my rabbit.
Yeah, it's iFood, right? But he wanted to ask a question.
Mais barato que a carne.
It's
Carne de
meat.
boi.
It's later on. It's meat, like because they eat a lot of cow meat. As here, tem agora vez tua pergunta. So please, his question. He's been waiting patiently to be able to make it. So now, Mud Rabbit, he wanted to know. Eu estou repetindo a tua pergunta. Os astros, as pessoas que
Celebridades,
the celebrities that we see, are they all implicated? And I told him initially, yes. And then he goes, yeah, but
tem salvação,
we've
são
got
todas comprometidas, ainda
they-
tem como ainda acreditar em alguém.
are they all compromised? Can we believe in anybody? You know, he was mentioning Keanu Reeves and qual era
Mel
outro
Gibson.
que- Mel Gibson. That are names that we know that are sort of, against that Kabbalic structure. But I've also seen Kanye West on the list for co-defendants for Maxwell. So
That's a
where are
fake
we on that?
list. That's a fake list. That's the list from one of the things going on with Jeffrey Epstein.
who didn't kill himself, right?
Right.
Mas não pode
So
citar
no,
nome.
that's a fake list that's circulating.
All right. So
I
what would
think
be
there are
the
some
list?
celebrities that knew what was going on and tried to warn us and knew they could only go so far to say so much, like Mel Gibson and what's the other guy that's doing that movie, Jim Caviezel and Rose McGowan. They're out there blowing whistles right and left. And let me tell you something, every time Hillary opens her mouth, Rose McGowan shuts it.
Well,
My whole thing is, as long as Jeffrey Epstein is dead, why are we questioning it? He was a pervert and a sicko, so why are we even questioning it?
the problem
He's dead.
is-
Let's
dead.
celebrate.
The problem is that he's not dead.
He's not dead. He's in protective custody.
He's a witness.
I didn't know about all that. I'm just saying when people say he didn't kill himself or whatever,
See,
I didn't
that's,
know if
that's
they were
the whole
trying to imply that he was killed or what.
5D chess, Ariel.
As tragédias que acontecem em Hollywood estão diretamente ou não ligadas a isso?
So Junior wants to know if the tragedies that are happening in Hollywood, are they directly linked to that or not?
Could be. Could be. I'm paying attention to who we're not seeing anymore. I noticed today we're not seeing Jim Acosta and we're not seeing James Comey. We're not seeing some actors and actresses. They seem to have just disappeared off the radar, like Bette Midler. All of a sudden, Cher is quiet. And I wonder if their press secretaries or whoever are handling their Twitter accounts, because we're not seeing them. We see Madonna, we see Lady Gaga.
That's the thing that she's talking about. These are all demonic beings that are interacting and having,
right. But I think some of them are disappearing one at a time. And
yes,
then there was
as per the plan.
Delara
Edson,
Essengil.
né? Exemplo bem claro de uma chacina demoníaca.
He's trying to talk about the demonic just killing of Madison, but that's a whole nother story. He's
Delara Essengil is an attorney out in Hollywood, and a lot of these people have been her clients or she's been involved with one way or another. And she says there is total panic in Hollywood. Total panic.
They're trying to normalize pedophilia, and they're sick bastards.
Yeah, and a lot of them that you think are women aren't. And she knows they aren't. And she says, you should see them without the makeup and without the filters and without the camera. She goes, these people are weird.
Yeah, but when Joan Rivers said it, she died 2 weeks later.
Yeah, because she blew it.
Oh, Obama. Yeah, he's our first gay president. And Michelle, she's a tranny. Everybody knows that.
And then she says, oh, calm down, calm down. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's just news.
And then she died. So, yeah, that kind of tells you.
Because there was a strange doctor that was in a new plastic surgery who had never been in there, and nobody knows who he is, and nobody can track down who this motherfucker was.
Well, if anybody's
So do you think
interested in
Kennedy was killed
Hollywood,
on purpose too because of that? Or was that a completely different
Absolutely.
thing?
Of course she was.
I said Kennedy. John
Oh.
F. Kennedy.
Kennedy was killed because he was a danger to the cabal itself, because he wanted to bring the whole fucking thing down like it's being done right now. He wanted to break up the CIA in 1,000,000 pieces. He said 1,000 pieces. But the thing is, they are a satanic Nazi fucking control regime that wanted to continue the propagation of absolute subservience of the human race to their omnipotent control. And so they have been on that agenda for a very long fucking time.
yeah,
And
they
they
have.
cut people off, and Maxwell's trial is going to show how many people they have enticed and induced, because they fly them in for all these highfalutin, promises and everything else, and then they get him into compromising situations, take the wrong kinds of videos and photos, and then say, oh, remember that weekend? Yeah, I need you to pass this law. Otherwise, those photos become public. And as per that, the Mossad has control of the majority of the decisions around the world.
For anybody that's interested in Hollywood, I would highly suggest watching McAllister TV. She has Delara on there on the weekends, and Delara just drops bombs like nobody's business. She's also got, she's online at delaraessengill.blog.
Hold on. McAllister is, because Junior's asking how it's spelled. McAllistor, is that?
TER.
Ter. Okay.
TV on Rumble, on YouTube, and I believe she's on D Live. I watch her on Rumble.
I do too. I follow her, but I kind of find her kind of boring because she gets off into some tangents that I just don't have time
Vamos
for.
lá, eu sou muito fã do Robert De Niro.
All right, so he's a fan of Robert De Niro. Is he going down or not?
Right. Robert De Niro's a good actor. I like Robert De Niro too.
Yeah, but he kind of went off on Trump like he was angry at him. So you got to wonder why he was angry.
Ele atacou Trump como se tivesse zangado. Tem que perguntar
Watch
por que
their
que
reactions to
Que
him.
lamentável, né? Ele é talentoso.
Well,
I
that's
think everybody's
lamentable.
entitled to their opinion about,
So many of them reacted so negatively against Trump, and that's kind of telling, unfortunately.
everybody talked negative about Trump. That's what I couldn't understand and comprehend. I was like, wait a minute.
Girl, you need
I
to
don't
get
think
on
about
their
doing anything that
platform
bad.
where you're getting all the information. You need to get on Telegram.
You need to get on the right channels on Telegram,
Yeah.
because everything's on Telegram. But I'm on Telegram as well, Opinion Perspective. Although I haven't put on there for a while, ever since I fucked up my computer and got it up.
Adoro todos os filmes dele, mas o que ele fez, o Senhor Estagiário.
Okay, he
muito
loved
bom.
all of De Niro's movies. The last one was The Apprentice.
He's got good taste in movies.
See, the thing is, I was a movie, e essa é a coisa que eu era viciado em filmes. Eu assisti filmes minha infância inteira. Eu adoro todos eles. Hoje tenho nojo de ir para o cinema. What I just got through telling him, I'm a movie aficionado. There were a couple of summers to where there was a movie that came out that I didn't watch. I loved all that shit. It was better than my real life, which was actually better than most people's lives, which I only realize that now. Now, however, like I was telling him, I can't watch a movie without puking, but without seeing the underlying programming the filth and seeing the actors for who they really are, because I know the truth behind them.
I don't bother, and it doesn't bother me in the least. I go garden, I go pull weeds, I go play with the cat.
I just don't go to the.
I listen to music and I clean my house. I don't care less about TV.
I just don't spend $30 at the movie theater anymore.
No, I don't either.
I'm not spending that. I don't go to a movie theater. I'm fine with music. As long as I got music, I'm fine.
De volta esse
I
assunto.
listen to my Motley Crue. I listen to all that. I'm good.
All right. Hold on. Junior's got another question.
A gente passa por tempos difíceis de cancelamento, de ver pessoas sendo canceladas.
We're going through a difficult time of
celebridades sendo
seeing
canceladas
celebrities
pela opinião delas.
For their opinions.
Então, é preocupante essa coisa de acusar fulano, ciclano.
Accusing this person or that person of this thing.
Eu acho isso tudo muito temeroso.
I think it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Só para complementar, do cancelamento, né?
He wanted to add the cancel culture to the conversation, to be participatory.
What we need to do is take the weapon they've used against us and turn it back on them. Whatever happened to your dollar speaks, your money speaks. Whatever happened to the customer's always right. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
We don't have to contribute to businesses that push this. We don't have to contribute in any way. I mean, what if when you go to the movie, how much do you think that star is going to make, or that producer, or that they're making money off your back when you go to watch these movies?
Exactly.
The minute
my whole thing is it's like I said, I think
it's happening all around us. Look at the shares that are dropping for companies like Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the shares are dropping. I mean, on Telegram, there's a list. If it's a name brand, it's all connected. If it's Kraft or Nestle or Unilever or Procter and Gamble, they're all fucking connected.
I just think everybody's entitled to their opinion.
It's all a control structure, so we have to be dependent on them. They make
Use your
money
dollar wisely. Shop in places that don't sell name brand products, or buy the stuff that's on the bottom shelf.
Or go to somebody that you know that's local, that makes what you want, and help them develop. It might not be the best quality, but man, you're going to get a friendship. You're going to get a good quality product. And if something goes wrong, you know the guy who made it, and you can go, yo, dude, fix it. And you will.
Well, this is part of devolution. This is where we're going to end up. We're going to have to get back on. We're going to have to literally get off our butts again as a nation and become our own producers.
Se puder citar agora é o Bom Samaritano.
Well, now Junior wants to cite the Good Samaritan Bible text to add context to the conversation.
Pela teoria da Bíblia, a pessoa que doa tudo que tem, ajuda os pobres e realmente não fica juntando dinheiro e guardando, é que estaria sendo bom samaritano.
They are people that are good Samaritans. So we shouldn't just hoard for ourselves. Helping others and being beneficial. Isso é o bom samaritano. That's his interpretation of the Good Samaritan, and that's the message that he wanted to be able to propagate to all of us in these difficult end times, and that's a wonderful view of things.
That's why I say it's good to know your community, because when you know your community, you have more local support.
And when you can build the community, that's even better, because everybody's got everybody's back. Mm-hmm. Because the system ain't got nobody's back. The system wants to destroy everybody. The demons want to destroy everybody. They want to subjugate us. Look at the metaverse. They want us to live in a virtual reality that's better than ours, because everything that we wanted, we can have right now. That sounds like the Matrix.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like a precursor.
But then again, it's coming from a robot who didn't even create his own fucking algorithms. But anyway.
I finally went back into my Facebook account last night after 5 years of not having paid any attention to it, just to find a picture.
I'm still suspended. I'm still got 4 days suspension on Facebook jail. Why? Because I said that I hope people riot, and this time they should get the Rittenhouse cocktail. It's a chaser and 3 shots. Hold on.
Well, that's the thing, and Facebook censors what you say. Like, it's supposed to be free speech, but then they turn around and say it's hate. Like, I made a comment about something, and I was suspended for like 2 days because I was like,
It's not
really?
free speech. It's only free speech if you agree with them. They're a cabal of dominating, controlling motherfuckers, because that's the whole thing. Whoever takes the free will away from someone else is against God's will, because the first thing that God did when he gave us our consciousness was our free will. And so by his own rule, he won't break it. He will not impose himself on us in this reality. However, everything is under him, and eventually every knee shall bow, period, because that is reality. But we are in the illusion of free will when anything that we do that is not according to the Father's will is a problem and will lead you to bad places. So in
I just
reality,
believe everything happens for a reason. Certain things happen for a reason.
yeah, and we're all here to learn, right? And I wish Terry would have come on, because I want to dig into Mud Rabbit and Terry's stories about the Akashic records and everything else. That was fucking awesome. We're coming up on 1:45. We got 15 minutes. I'd say I'm thinking about 2 hours is a good time frame. We got into a lot of stuff today. We got deep into lots of different things. Still concerned about the realities, actuality, what's actually going on today, because there are lots of things happening that people aren't seeing, because people depend on and still rely on the old structure methods. So any way that we can get people closer to opening their eyes and realizing that the television show in the 1980s is not that far away from fiction. And the reality that we see in our everyday is less real than the resonance that you have, the impact that you have on someone with your own words, understanding, listening, comprehension. The way we affect other souls is what we need to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how we deal with those negative fucking souls that want to kill and destroy everyone else, that's what devolution is about. That's what they're planning. And I'd like to know what they're doing so that we can prepare to not get taken away by the flood that took everybody else away. And that's my objective from Tuesdays. I don't know what.
We're on the arc.
I hope so.
We're on the arc on this side.
I hope so, Mud Rabbit. Sometimes I'm not so sure. I have a tendency of diving overboard. But yeah, I hope.
Seasick, so I don't know how that's going to work.
They're all good. But God is in control, and in the end, God wins. Next week,
I think that's the issue. People just need to get comfortable with the idea that God is in control. And once they become comfortable with that, you can sit back and truly enjoy this, because I feel almost guilty sometimes telling people I am enjoying the living hell out of this. I am laughing every day. I am curious.
Everybody's in the chaos and they don't know about it, but you know what's going on, but you're good because life ain't bad.
Just pay attention. I mean, I'm watching people around me freak out, and I'm like, chill.
You gotta enjoy every day that you have. You can't think of the negative. You gotta enjoy every day that you have, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You couldn't wake up tomorrow.
Somebody once said to me, "What do you do when the asteroid hits?" I said, "Don't worry, baby. I'll be standing in the front yard trying to catch it just to save us all." And he just looked at me like.
No, my whole thing is this: Jesus never asked the Father for anything. He always thanked him.
Yes,
that's why every prayer he gave thanks for something the Father already gave him.
Yeah.
Because he knew that what he asked for would be. And that's what it is. Everything that you ask for in my name, you will have, saith the Lord. And that's the reality that we are in. People don't get that, but we have to be grateful.
It's working. It's working for me.
You got to enjoy every day like it's your last. You can't think ahead. Oh, well, I can't enjoy today.
It's not even that. It's just the simple act of being truly thankful for the things that you do have every day for a minute or two. It really does change your surroundings.
It changes your vibration. It changes your perspective on life. It changes the way that you see existence itself.
Exactly.
You see more positives than negatives.
Thank you.
And I'm seeing
You
a lot
gotta
of
be thankful
positives
of who you have in your life. And that's the thing about being adults is you can pick and choose who you want in your life.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. But yeah, we're coming up on 10 minutes from 2 hours. I'm not Jacob. I'm not going to be doing an 8-hour thing. We got lots of episodes ahead of us. This was a good Tuesday. Thank you very much, Mud Rabbit. I appreciate all the information. We will be getting into more Devolution next week. I'll be reading much more of Patel Patriot's information. His links are in the description to the video. I've already put them there. Everyone enjoy. The last video we had 57 viewers, so I'm impressed. That's double. That's more than double than most.
I remember when Jacob only had 7. You'll get there.
But the thing is, topics that people are interested in and things that will bring people back and keep them around.
Yeah.
That's my objective. Tuesdays, we're on Devolution, Q News, and everything else. Why? Because it's World War III, and it's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Shout out from Junior. Abraço aí,
Bye-bye, Junior.
Quit doing that faggoty shit.
Oh, that's so cute.
That's just him being Brazilian. But anyway, much love to everybody. Thank you very much, and see you all next week.
Good night.
Good night.